Hey, what's up? Welcome to this new video. This one is paper 3 for Pearson Edexcel. So I think that was also a requested paper. So with that being said, let's move on to the questions. Here we have what? Here we have question number 1. So first thing first, we have a curve C has the equation y equal to this. Good to know. Now the value of x is between 0 and pi. Okay. Now the curve has a stationary point at P. Now we know that at the stationary point what happens? We know that this is when dy by dx have to be 0. So we write this right now just as a point we can use for later on in the question. Now part A, we have to show using calculus the x point. So exactly, so if you think this is point P, you will have to have a x value and a y value, right? So we have to show the x point is given by this is a solution of this equation. So we have to prove this equation applies to the x point of P. So pretty easy. To find the x point of P, you obviously have to find the point P. Okay, so let's do that. So we know the equation is y equal to x squared cos half x. Now the first thing we observe is what? This is a product. This is this times this. Call this u and then call this v. So when you have a product, you can use the product rule to find dy by dx. So we know that dy by dx will be, so d by dx have to be what? It will be, we can write this in this way if you want, the u times dv by dx plus v times du by dx. So that's the formula we have for the product rule. Now we just have to solve and replace in each of those spaces. So first thing first, u is x squared. Now dv by dx of this will be what? So pretty easy, step by step. So cos will become minus sine, and here we have the same value here, and then multiply by the d by dx of the inside value, that will be half, right? This is how you would differentiate something like this. Now here we have plus, that will be plus, obviously. And here we have v will be cos half x times the value of du by dx, that will be simply 2x. Right, I hope that makes sense. Now let's move on to the next part. We just have to simplify to see what happens. So that will become, we have minus x squared sine half x over 2 plus 2x cos half x. Now this is my dy by dx. So now I'm trying to find the point P, and the point P being the stationary point. What do we know about this point? We know that this happens when the value of dy by dx have to be 0. So let's equate that to the value of 0. Right. Now we can send this one over here. It will become 2x cos half x is equal to x squared sine half x over the value of 2. Right, now what can you do? We can simply cross multiply. You will have 4x cos half x is equal to x squared sine half x. Okay, so let's see what else can we do. Now because the value of x cannot be 0, we don't have equal sign here, what can we do? We can just divide by x everywhere. So you will have 4, this will cancel out, you will have cos half x is equal to x sine half x. Now, something we have learned in the past in math. So when you have cos and sine in the same line on the same equation, we always try to divide by cos of the angle, half x, y. Let's see what happens. That will become 4, and this will become x. Now what is sine divided by cos? It will be 10, right? So 10 half x. Now let's try to make this one become subject here. Because as you can see here, we are trying to find arc of 10, which is tan inverse. Right? So we have to make the value of x on the inside become the subject. So first thing first, let's send this over here to become 4 divided by x. That will be tan half x. Okay. Now what's next? So half x will be arctan, which is tan inverse of the value over here, which is 4 over x. And then finally, let's continue here. Finally, x have to be 2 arctan 4 over x. And this is shown as required. Okay, now let's move on to part B of the question. Part B is we have to use the iteration formula here given to you already. With x1 equal to this, find the value of x2 and the value of x6, giving you answers to 3 decimal places. So pretty easy. Let me write down the formula over the next page. So we are given that we have xn plus 1 is equal to 2 tan inverse of 4 over xn, with the value of x1 equal to 2. Okay, great. Now let's move on to the question. So we have to find 3 decimal place, the value of x2 and the value of x6. So let's do this. So we have to obviously use the calculator. Now because as you can see, x1 is 2, we don't have any degree sign, we have to use the radian mode, if that makes sense, right? Because let's say sometimes you get x equal to 45 degrees, then yes, you have to use a degree sign. But in this case, we have 2. This was just an example because sometimes there are some students which are confused when to use degrees and radians, because here you can see it is a value directly, which is have no degree sign to it. You can use radian for this one. So first let's do 2 is the first value. That will be the first answer. Now we'll plug in the value here. So we have 2 tan inverse of 4 divided by the answer, right? That will be my second value, sorry. So x2 will have to be 2.214 to 3 decimal place. Now x3 2.130, x4 2.163, x5, I think I messed up. Yeah, I did mess up, so I have to try again. So the answer is this one, replace back in the so that will be 2 tan inverse of 4 divided by answer. That will be x5 2.150 and x6 that will be 2.155. Okay, so the answer here is the value of x2 and x3 are given as follows. So let me try that again because I do not like to do silly mistakes. So 2 tan inverse of 4 divided by, so 2 is the answer, that's the first value. 2 tan inverse of 4 divided by the answer. So first one is 2.214, 2.130, 2.163, 2.150, and 2.155. So okay, good. This one is confirmed, and that will be your question number 1 to find the value of x2 and x6 correct to 3 decimal place. Okay, so let's move on to question number 2. So here we have to show the left hand side is equal to the right hand side, where the value of k is a constant to be found. Now again, the value of x cannot be 90n. N is an integer value. Okay, so for example, x cannot be the value of 90, 180, 270, and so on. So the reason why is because of the tan graph. If you know, is that the graph have a shape something like this. That will be this. You will have asymptotes. And now the next one will be somewhere right here, right? So as you can see, this is not the right shape, but the idea is that the graph will always have an asymptote. So this is wrong here. It should be something over here. You have a line here, which is called the vertical asymptote, where this line will be pi by 2. So every 90 degrees, we will have a vertical asymptote for the tan curve. Either way, this is not important for this question. It was just something good to know. Now we have to find the value of k. So let's see how can we do this. Now we can actually use a few things given to you from the question itself. So let's see what do we have here. So the idea is that here we have 2x, here we have 2x, but here we have only x. So the first idea is we have to break it down into x. That's the first thing. Now, we also know that what is tan? Tan is sine over cos, right? So when you break this down, you have to make sure that we have sine on top and cos at the bottom. So now from knowing that on the back of your mind, you can proceed to do the questions. Now let me write down the formulas we know for those two. So we know cos of 2x has to be what? So we have a few options. It could be 2 cos square x minus 1, or it could be 1 minus 2 sine square x. That's one of the options, obviously. It is not the only option. So I believe this is also given to you on your list of formulas. This is what I've seen on the F19 sheet, but I'm not too sure. So you have to check it for yourself. But this is what we can use. So sine 2x is what? It's given by 2 sine x cos x. So this is something we can use to solve this question. Now replace back in the main equation. So on top we have here what? We have, let me continue below. So we have 1 minus cos 2x. So we have to choose this one because as we have seen, we want to have sine on top. So we have this one right here. Now divide by. The bottom is 2 sine 2x. So 2. Now sine 2x will be this one. 2 sine x cos x. Now simplify, that will become 1 minus 1 is 0. This become plus 2 sine square x over the value of 4 sine x, and then here we have cos x. Right. Now simplify. This will cancel out with this, and this will cancel out with this. So you will have 1 here over 2, and that will become sine x over cos x. That will become 0.5 or half tan x. Now by comparison, you can see that the value of k have to be 0.5. So right here, k have to be 0.5 or half. You can write half or 0.5 for the value. Now for part B, we have what? We have hence. So hence usually means using the value from part 1 using this. Solve for the value of theta between 0 and 90. That will be, in this first quadrant, that will be 0 and 90. Should be somewhere over here, right, in the first quadrant, for the value of theta for this equation. Now, why does it say hence? If you observe, this one looks a lot like this one. Right, let's see, what do we have? So what happens if you take out the value of 9? So take the value of 9 outside. On the inside, we have 1 minus cos 2 theta over the value of 2 sine 2 theta. So now if you observe, this one is basically the same thing as this one. So the only difference is here we have x replaced by the value of theta. So we know that the inside value here becomes the same thing as this. Just replace x by theta. So let me write this down. From part B, it is the same thing as 9 times, should give you 0.5, and that will be tan, instead of x, that will be theta. I hope that makes sense, right? And then equal to, the value over here will be 2 sec square theta. Okay, now let's solve. Let's see what do we have. So 9 times 0.5, so 9 times 0.5, that should be 4.5. Tan theta is equal to 2 sec square theta. Now we can use I think we have some formulas we can use here to help us simplify this. So if you observe this, what is this equal to? So from your list, you will know this is equal to 1 plus tan square theta. So just replace, you will have 4.5 over here. Tan theta is equal to 2 times 1 plus tan square theta. Now simplify, that will become what? 4.5 tan theta have to be 2 plus 2 tan square theta. So this one, it is going to be looking a lot like a quadratic equation. So let me rewrite this here so we have some more space. So if I send everything to the right hand side, you will have 2 tan square theta minus 4.5 tan theta, and plus the value of 2 have to be 0. Now, one thing we can do right now is to let u becomes tan theta. So you will have 2 u square minus 4.5 u, and plus 2 has to be 0. Now, as you can see, this is clearly a quadratic equation. Now, how can you solve for the value of u? So we can use the formula that we know. U have to be minus b, which is 4.5, plus minus b squared minus 4 times a times c. That will be 4.25. And then divide by the value of 2a, that will be 4. So, from this, u has to be what? 4.5 plus root of 4.25 divided by 4. That will be 1.640388, or it can be 4.5 minus root of 4.25 divided by 4, 0.609612. So we have 2 values of u. Now again, we're not trying to find the value of u, we're trying to find the value of theta. So replace back in the main equation, you will have tan theta is equal to 1.640388, and here we have tan theta has to be 0.609612. Now for both values, tan is positive, as you guys know, it will be in the first quadrant or in the third quadrant for ASTC. However, we don't need this one because theta is between the value of 0 and 90. So we only need the value from the first quadrant. So let's solve. Theta will be tan inverse of 1.640. So here we have to use degrees because the angle will define in degrees, right? That will be tan inverse of 1.640388. That will be 58.6 degrees. And here we have what? Same thing, tan inverse of 0.6096. Theta have to be what? 0.6096. That will be 31.4 degrees. So I think the question was asking to provide your answer to 1 decimal place. So here we go. We have the answers here for 2 values of theta correct to 1 decimal place. Okay, this and this. And that should be your question number 2. Okay, so let's move on to question number 3. So here we have to solve this integration. So how can we do this? So step by step, we can simplify this. This is the same thing as 12. We can send this up. That will be 2x minus 1 power minus 2 dx. Now the only reason why we can do this here is because the inside value is linear, which means the power x is 1. So whenever it's 1 here, we can do that. However, if the power x was 2, 3, and 4, I mean more anything other than 1, we would not be able to do this trick in this case. Anyways, now let's see what can we have. So we can rewrite this as what? 12 is only a multiple, so leave this outside. That will be 2x minus 1 minus 2 dx. Now simplify. 12 is 12, and this will become what? So first thing we have to increase the power by 1, that will be minus 1, then divide by the same power, then divide by d by dx of the value inside, that will be 2, and plus c, obviously, for your constant of integration. Now this will cancel out with this, so you will have minus 6 over 2x minus 1 plus c. So this is your answer for part 1 of the question. Now for part 2, we have to write down this in the form of this, where a and b are constant to be found. Now in this case, what we can do is we can simply use long division. So what do I mean? I think we have done this many times in AdMath as well. So apply long division. That will be x plus 2. Now how can you make x become 4x? We have to multiply by 4, right? So you will have 4x plus 8. This will cancel out, obviously. 3 minus 8 will be minus 5. which means this will be equal to what? This is 4. Here we have minus 5 over x plus 2. Right, now let's move on to part B of the question. Now hence means using the value for part A. We have to find the exact value. As you can see, this is the main point here as well, exact value of this one. So step by step, let's solve this. Okay, so here we have what? So that will be minus 5 minus 8. That will be 4 minus 5 over the value of x plus 2 by dx. Let's first integrate. That will give you what? 4x minus 5. 5 is only a multiple, so here we can send this up. That will be x plus 2. The reason why we put modulus is because we know that the value of ln cannot take any negative values either way. Now in this question, we don't need to care about the negative signs. We just have to use the modulus and then proceed to solve the integral. So let's do that. So here we have 4 times x. 4x will be this one, minus 5 ln. X plus 2 is minus 3. Okay, that's the first one. Then minus, that will be 4 times 8, minus 8, sorry, that will be 5 ln of modulus. Minus 8 plus 2 will be minus 6. Okay, this one. Now step by step, let's see what do we have. This will become minus 20, minus 5 ln of 3. Now minus sign is here, that will become minus 32, minus 5 ln of 6, right? Because when you have something inside modulus, it is positive either way. Now let's see what else can we have. So here will be minus 20, minus become plus 32, minus 5 ln 3, and here we have plus 5 ln 6. Now let's simplify, because we have to provide the answer in its simplest form. That's the main point as well, right? It has to be exact, but also in its simplest form. So let's see what do we have. So minus 20 plus 32, that should be 12. But let's always check, because why not? There you go, 12, right? And here, what happens if you factorize the 5 outside? So let me put this in front. That will become 5 will be outside, and we have ln of 6 minus ln of 3. Right, that will be this one. Now, again, we can also simplify the inside value by the laws of logarithms. So how do we know that? Because they have the same log, as you can see here. That will be this. That will be 6, and minus will become divided by this value over here. So that will become 12 plus 5 ln of the value of 2. And this will be the simplest form that we can express this for your answer. Again, I apologize about the noise. There's always police over here. Either way, let's move on to the next question. Okay. Now, question number 4 is what? The function f and g are defined by the following expression. Now, this is the domain of f of x, domain of g of x. Domain basically are the x values for which the function is defined. So that is domain, right? Now, we can see here we have x has to be less or equal to 0 all the time for g of x. That's good to know at first. Either way, let's move on to the question. So here we have to solve this equation. F g of x equal to 3. So one by one, what is f g of x? That is basically f, take the value of g of x inside, equal to 3. Now this one, we can replace basically x by g of x. That will become 4 times g of x plus 6 over the value of g of x minus 5 has to be 3. Let's try to simplify this some more. Let me continue here. So 4 times g of x will be what? So 4 times this will be 20 minus 8 x squared plus 6 over g of x is 5 minus 2x squared minus 5 equal to the value of 3. So this and this will cancel out, obviously. And 20 plus 6 will be 26. But either way, let me first cross multiply. So this will lay down to what? 1 times this will give you. So 26 minus 8x squared equal to the value of minus 6x squared. Let's send this over here. That will become 26. That will be 2x squared. So 2x squared have to be what? Have to be 26. x squared have to be the value of 13. Again, x can be two values, which is plus, minus root of 13. However, so in this question, we have to choose which one is the correct value. So basically, here we have this. But what is the domain of f g of x? So we have to know that. It is equal to the domain of g of x. Okay? So domain of g of x is defined by x is less than 0. So we can only take the value which is less than 0. So by this information, x can only be negative root of 13 as your answer. That is part A of the question. Now for part B, we have f inverse. This one is pretty easy. Let me solve this over here. The first step is to let y be equal to f of x. That will be 4x plus 6 over the value of x minus 5. Now we have to make x become the subject of the formula. Let's see what happens. That will become yx minus 5y. That will be 4x plus 6. Right. Now we can send everything to, or we can send the x to one side. You will have x, so yx minus 4x is equal to 5y plus 6. Factorize the x, that will be y minus 4, that will be 5y plus 6. X have to be 5y plus 6 over the value of y minus 4. So, which means that f inverse will be in terms of x, that will be 5x plus 6 over the value of x minus 4. So this one is pretty easy question for 3 marks, which is a good thing, right? So that will be part B of the question. Now for part C of the question, let's see what do we have. We have what? Sketch and label. So here we have only to sketch. It is not draw. On the same axis, the curve of y equal to g of x and the curve equal to g inverse of x. So we have to show the sketch of the coordinates of the points where the curve meets or where it cuts the axis. So let me find some space on the other page and let's draw these curves. So first thing, what do we know? We know g of x is equal to the value of 5 minus 2x squared. Now let me rewrite this down so we can realize something. It is the same thing as minus 2x squared plus 5. Now, as you can see here, it is what? It is a quadratic equation because we have power of 2 here over the x. Now we know the coefficient is minus 2. What does that mean? It means the shape of the curve will be something like this. It will have a maximum point. That's what we can conclude from that equation. That's the first thing. Now, we want to know where it cuts the axis, so let's see one by one. At the value of at the x-axis, what do we know about y? Y has to be 0. Y is simply g of x, right? That will be 5 minus 2x squared has to be 0. So 2x squared have to be 5, x squared have to be 2.5, and x have to be plus minus 2.5. That is the first thing we have to know. The next one, continue for the y-axis. So at y-axis, what do we have to know? The value of x have to be 0. So g 0, that will be 5 minus 0, and that will be 5. The point is 0 and 5 for the point on the y-axis. Okay. Now we can proceed with the graph. So one by one. Let's first draw the x-axis, right? So let me sketch a few points so we can have an idea how we can draw this or sketch this, right? So here will be my x and this is y axis. Okay, so the main point is what? The main point is that this is the values on the x, that will be over here minus this. This is the values on the, let's say somewhere over here, approximately, right? That will be 2.5. These are the passing point. Now also the value on the y-axis, that will be 0.5, let's say somewhere over here. That's the idea. Now, before I draw this curve, we do realize that this point is also the maximum point. Now, again, if you want to check, we can always use the calculus here. So at the maximum point, what do we know? dy by dx will be 0. So let's find dy by dx. That will be what? It will be minus 4x. Now equate that to 0, x will be 0. Now when x equal to 0, the value of y will be this. So this is the maximum point of the curve. So let me draw this shape at first. It will be this, something like this, right? It will keep going on and on and on and on in this way. That's the main idea. Now again, the reason why I am not going to draw this side, why? Because as we have seen in the question, for g of x, x is only defined for less or equal to 0. Because of that, we cannot draw this side. Again, because also if you draw this side, g of x will not have an inverse because it will not be a one-to-one function anymore. But the main idea is you will not continue on this side. You will only draw this side for this one. This will be simply your g of x. Now the main idea to draw the, I would say, g inverse of x is we understand that it is a reflection in the line y equal to x. That's something we understand, right? That will be here and here. So that is y equal to x. Okay. Now we can just do it by reflection. For example, I can look at this way and then try to just approximately find the other points on my other axis. This will be here, and this will be somewhere over here, right, by reflection. So this will be here. Let's try your best to connect those 3 points. It will be this way, and that way. Okay, so that will be my g inverse of x. So showing this, the value of what? It's the value of minus 2.5, and this will be the value of 5. This is the value of 5, obviously. Now again, we don't need to show this one because, as you can see, the question is to show the points where the curve meets or where the curve cuts the axis. So let me just show the axis. Now if you want to solve, you can always find this one if you want to. But now this will be the answers for question number 4. Okay, so let's move on to question number 5. So here we have a diagram 1 where we can see clearly it is going to be a linear log question. The growth of duckweed on a pond is being studied. Okay, now the surface area A, so A, at the time t days after the start is modeled by this equation. Okay, so where P and Q are positive constant. That's good to know. Now figure 1 shows the linear relationship between log base of 10a and t. So this and this. So basically this graph is a graph of log base of 10a against t. That's the idea for the graph. Now the points on the graph is this and this. It is on the graph as seen right here. Okay, now what's next? So we have to find, correct to 3 decimal place, the value of p and the value of q. Okay, so let's see how are we going to find that. So first thing first, we have to try to express this in terms of those 2 variables, as we have seen many times in add math for linear law, right? So let me break this down. At first, we have a is equal to p q power t. Apply log base of 10 on both sides because, as you can see, we need this base of a, so base of 10a on one side. So we have to apply on both sides if you want to have that for this one. That will be this. Now simplify this, that will become base of 10 p. We can break this down by laws of logarithms. That will be q, this, power t. Now this one we can obviously send to the beginning. So you will have log base of 10 here, sorry, q in the beginning, that will be t. Basically, we can also write multiply by t, same thing as put this in the beginning, and then plus log base of 10p. So finally, let me rewrite everything down. So we realize that this equation can also be written as log base of 10a is equal to, this one is log base of 10q times t plus log base of 10p. Now if you compare, that is pretty similar to what? To y equal to mx plus c. Now the reason why we can compare with this is because we can see clearly that is a straight line, and this is the equation of a straight line usually. Now by comparison, this gradient has to be this, and this is the y-intercept. So by using that knowledge, we can find the value of p and q. So let's solve this. So this is the y-intercept, which means where your line curves the y-axis. Now this value here is simply 0.32, which means log base of 10 p have to be 0.32, which means p have to be 10 power 0.32. Let's see what do we have. That will be correct to 3 decimal place. That will be 2.089. Now next one is for this one. So here we have the gradient. So we know that log base of 10 q have to be equal to the gradient. Now how do you find the gradient of a straight line? We can use the 2 points given to us, and the formula, right? So that will be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That will be 8. That should be 0.03. So q has to be 10 power 0.03. That will be what? 1.072, correct to 3 decimal places. So this will be the value of p and q found as follows for those 2 values, and that will be 4 marks for you, which is pretty good. Now for part B, as you can see here, using the model with the values of p and q found in part 1, part B, we have to find the rate of increase of the area covered by ductwork. So we have to find dA by dt. So the rate of increase of the area. Now, in meters square per day, exactly 6 days after the study, so basically at time t equal to 6. Now here, we have to understand, it will be kind of hard. For example, if you look at this equation, A is equal to P Q power T. Now, how are we going to find the dA by dt of this? It's kind of hard, right? You can agree. So the idea is that you have to use the model, basically use the line, or the understanding of the line. As you can see, this equation here is growing at a constant rate, steady rate, which means, let me write this down, which means that at time 0, when time equal to 0, or at day 1, what was the value of A? That will be 0.032. Now, every time it is growing at the same rate, because it is a constant straight line, it is growing at the same rate. So T1, T2, T3 until T6. Now what is the value at T6? Let's replace back in the equation. That will be what? Let me use the exact values. So let me use this one. So I always prefer using exact values when we are trying to find these kind of questions. For example, here we have log. Let me write this down again. Here we have log base of 10a equal to log base of 10q. Log base of 10q is 0.03 times t, and plus log base of 10p, that was this value, 0.32. Now let's find the value of a when t equal to 6. Replace 0.03 times 6 plus 0.32. That will be 0.5. So this will become 0.5 when time equal to 6. Find the value of a, so solve. A have to be 10 power 0.5. So let me write this down here. So when time equal to 6, the value of a was 10 power 0.5. That will be 3.162. 3.162, correct to 3 decimal place. Now because it was a linear growth for 6 intervals, right? We understand that dA by dt have to be the increase, right, from this to this point. That will be this minus 0.032. That will be 3.1302 divided by the value of 6 intervals. That will be 0.5217. So let me double check one more time. So 10 power 0.5 will be this one. So minus 0.032 divided by 6. That will be 0.5217. Now giving your answer to 2 decimal place, let's see what happens. That will be 0.552 meters square per day. Now the main point of this question is to understand what's happening. Now again, definitely use your calculator to double check the values for this question, and you just have to understand what we are trying to find and what can we use to find the answers. But that will be your question number 5. Now let's move on to question number 6. Now given k is a positive constant, so that's good to know. K has to be more than 0. That's the first thing. Now on separate diagrams, sketch the graph with this equation and this equation. On each sketch the coordinates in terms of k of each point where the graph meets or cuts the axis. So let's do one by one, right? So let's start with the first one. First one, we have this, y equal to k minus 2 modulus of x. So I would say in that case, what can we do? Let's begin one by one. For example, just for you to understand, let me begin with what is the shape or the graph for y equal to x. Okay, you would tell me, okay, if I have my axis here, this is y and x, you would tell me, okay, y equal to x will be a straight line in this direction. Right. Now what is the modulus of x? So we understand that everything below will have to be going up. So basically this part will be reflected upwards. That's the idea. Okay. Now let's move to the next step. Next step will be what? What is the equation of y equal to minus 2 modulus of x? Aha. So the idea is that when you apply minus sign in front of the x or modulus x, it means what? It means the minus sign means a reflection in the x-axis. That's the main idea here. So basically the shape was this. Now it will be reflected in the x-axis. So it will become this. This is my axis. Now because of the reflection, it will go down, obviously. Because of the 2, it will give it a stretch of 2. It will become a bit more acute. I mean, more thinner. It will be going up this way. That will be this one. Now finally, for the graph of y equal to k minus 2 modulus x. It is the same thing as saying minus 2 modulus x and plus k. Now we know k is positive, but what does this mean usually? So when you add this constant at the end, it means we go up by the value of k. So we have to move this up by k. That makes sense, right? So you will have what? You will have, your graph will finally be in this shape. So it was this, now you will go up, let's say it's somewhere over here. It'll be this and this. This will be my value of k. So let's label this graph. This will be the modulus of this. However, now we also have to find these 2 points, right? Now, how are you going to find these 2 points? So pretty easy. So let me show you step by step what's the idea behind how we can find these 2 points as well. Now, as you can see before, the usual shape of the graph was something like this, or this modulus sign. Now we know that x, so modulus x can be what? It can be plus x, or it can be minus x, right? So we have 2 possibilities of equation. For example, y can be written as k minus 2x, or y can be written as k plus 2x. If you replace x by these 2 values. Now basically one of them will be one of them, right? So let's choose. This one is minus 2, means we'll have a decreasing gradient, so this one will be y equal to k minus 2x. Obviously this one will be the other one, that will be k plus 2x, because here it is going up with a positive gradient. Now to find this point, it is on the x-axis. On the x-axis, what do we know? The value of y has to be 0. So 2x have to be minus k. K have to be x, will be over 2. So that will be this value here, minus k over 2. Same thing here, that will be k over 2. So by showing those 2 points, you will have your answers for question part 1 for sketching this graph. Okay, now for part 2 of the question, let me draw this here as well. So the idea here is that the first thing, as we have seen, here we have the whole thing is in modulus now. This is much easier to solve. For example, as you have seen before, the first thing I like to do is to what? Is to first ignore the decimal, ignore the modulus. That will be 2x minus k over 3. Now on the x-axis, what do we know? The value of y have to be 0. So replace, that will become 2x have to be k over 3. So x have to be k over 6. The next one, what else do we have? Here we have, on the y-axis, what do we know? The value of x has to be 0. That will be minus k over 3. So let's draw this. That will be my y and my x. And we have these 2 points. So here we have, let's say that will be somewhere over here. For example, right? Somewhere over here. And this will be somewhere over here. Right. Now we know this is a straight line, obviously. It is a linear equation. It will have to be a straight line. So you will have to join those 2 points. Now, the reason why I will not continue here is because this is not the real question. The real question is with the modulus sign. So we have to flip everything down upwards. So you will go reflect, it will reflect. This is this sign, it will be somewhere over here, for example. And we can just join this, continue this way. So these point is what? This is the points of intersection on the axis. That will be k over 6. And here we will have k over 3. So this will be the shape of this graph for your question part A. So obviously you have to show these points of intersection. Now for question part B, hence find in terms of k the values of x for which we have this. Now again, hence means using your answers from part A. Now if you observe, we can use the graph because this is the graph we have drawn from here. And this is the graph we have drawn from here. So let me find a new page here that we can show this. So let me use this page. So the main idea is that right now we have what? Right now let me combine the 2 graphs. This is the y and this is the x, right? So this is the blue graph. So this is the second graph will be something like this. That was something like this, for example. Right. And then the other graph was something like this. That was k will be up here. Let me continue this. Right, k will be something up here. That should be something like that. If that makes sense, right? Because we know that this is the 2 graphs. So let me continue this as well so we can have a better idea of what's happening. So using the graph, as you can see here, the question is asking us to find these 2 points. This point and these values of x. So these 2 values of x. Now, one way we can solve this is definitely by using the equation of the lines, one by one. So what is that equation? As we have seen, that has to be y equal to 2x minus k over 3. And this has to be y equal to minus 2x plus k over 3. Because it was given to you here. This is the modulus graph. Obviously, you can have 2 possible values. One will be this one, for which we keep it positive outside. And this one will be the value on the negative side. It is going down as well. Now this one we have seen from part 2 as well. This was given to you by y equal to k minus 2x. And this one was given to you by y equal to k plus 2x. Okay, so these were the two that is given to you, right? Now, pretty easy. How do you find those values of x? Let's call this x1 and x2. So pretty easy. So if you look here, this is the point of intersection between this line and this line. So let's write this down. It will be y equal to 2x minus k over 3, or y equal to k minus 2x. Now we have two equations. What do? We can solve these simultaneously. That will be k minus 2x have to be 2x minus k over 3. Let me send all the x to one side. You will have what? You will have 4x. That will be k over 3. 4x have to be 4 over 3 over 3k. Now x will be divided by 4, will be 1 over 3k. So this value here will be 1 over 3k. Okay, this one. Now how about this one? For this one, again, it is the point of intersection between this line and this line. So let's write those two lines. As we can see, it will be y equal to minus 2x plus k over 3, and y equal to k plus 2x. Now let's try to solve this. So replace, solve simultaneously. So on one side you will have this equal to k plus 2x. Right. Now send all the x to one side. You will have 4. So k minus this one. So k minus k over 3. That will be what? That will be base of 3. That will be 3 minus 1. That will be 2k. Right. So k x will be 2, 3 divided by 4k. That will be what? 6. So sorry, it becomes 6. X will become k over 6. Or let me explain again because it might be confusing for some. So here we have 4x equal to 2 over 3. Okay, x will be 2 over 3 divided by 4. Cancel out, you will have 2. So 3 times 3 is 1 over 6k. So as you can see here, we have two values for this one. I think, yep, something is wrong here, because as you can see, when I send this over here, it is minus sign. It is not positive, it will be minus this one. So that is, you see, these are the silly mistakes you need to avoid to get full marks. It is not hard, it's always tricky on why you have to always review your answers at the end of the question. Now, thankfully, this time I seen the graph, I'm like, hey, it cannot be positive, it has to be negative here. That will be 1 over minus 1 over 6k for this value of x1. Okay, so that will be my question number 6, where you have to draw the graphs and then, yeah, find the points. Now let's move on to question number 7. Okay, so I know you guys may be looking for this question, but let's see what can we do. So here we have x is equal to 6 sine squared 2y between the value of 0 and 45 degrees, right? Pi by 4. Now we have to show dy by dx equal to this, where a and b are integers to be found. So one by one, we have to find dy by dx. Again, this one is an implicit differentiation, so we have to apply d by dx on both sides. Right, this will be this, and this will be 6 sine squared 2y. This is because of chain rule. We can now solve this. So this is easy. This is 1. And this has to be what? 6 is a multiple. Will be outside. Here we have 2. Here we have sine 2y multiplied by cos 2y times 2. Right. That will be this. And of course, at the end, we have to multiply by dy by dx. This is where we get the dy by dx, because here, as you can see, it is by implicit differentiation. We will need to have that, because here we cannot directly do d by dx with the function in terms of y. We can do this first and then have this at the end to complete my equation due to chain rule. But the idea is that you can differentiate this and then add this at the end to make this become valid. Now to find this, let me first simplify. That will be 1 here. 6 times 2 is 12 times 3 is 24. Sine 2y and cos 2y times dy by dx. So from this, dy by dx have to be what? Have to be 1 over the value of 24 sine 2y cos 2y. Okay. Now we have to definitely simplify to see what can we do or use to find that value. Now as you can see, it is only 5 marks, so it should not be that hard. It should be kind of logical, right? So what do we know about the angles? So we know that sine 2, what is sine 2y equal to? It will be 2 sine y cos y. That's something we know, it is given to us on the list as well. Now something we can do right here is, what is sine 4y? It will be 2 sine 2y cos 2y. I hope that makes sense. When it was 2 here, it became y and y. When it is 4 here, that will become 2 and 2. Right. The reason why I'm doing this is because you can see clearly here we have this, and here we have this. So we are trying to kind of substitute in one another. So let's do this. From this, let me write this down here. We realize that sine 2y cos 2y is equal to sine 4y over the value of, this is the value of what? Of 2. So replace. So let's see, what do we have? dy by dx have to be 1 over, replace, you will have this, cross, that will be 12 sine of 4y. Okay, now let's see what can we use to find this answer. Now let me use this line still. For example, I don't know if I have some more space. Let me see where can I have space to try a few things. So we may or may not have done the first part, but either way, let me continue. So here we have sine 4y is equal to 2 sine 2y and cos 2y. Now let's try to do something, because if you see, the answer here needs to be in terms of x. And where do we see x? We see x right here, which is these one, right? So let's do something here. What happens if you square both sides? Let's do square both sides. You will have sine square 4y. That will become 4 sin square 2y and cos square 2y. Right. Now from the question itself, we know that x is given by the value of 6 sin square 2y. But now something we know from the list of formula is that we know sine square 2y. Sorry, in the here it is 2y, not y. This is 2 here. I apologize. So we know from the list of formula is this plus cos square 2y has to be the value of 1, which means cos square 2y has to be 1 minus sin square 2y. So let's find this as well. So let's do this. So this will be what? Sine square 2y has to be x over 6. Be 1 minus x over 6. So we know these two values now. We know this and we know this. Guess what? We can replace in the main equation, which is this one. So we have sine square 4y have to be what? 4 times, this is given to you, x over 6. This is given to you by 1 minus x over 6. Okay, so let's solve. So simplify, we have what? So let's see. Here we have 4 outside. Let's take the 6 outside, why not? You will have x multiplied by this, you will have x minus x squared over 6. Now let's simplify, that will become 2 over 3. You have 2 over 3. This will become 6x minus x squared over 6. I hope that makes sense, right? So if you want to make this become the same base, this is 1 here. You have to multiply by each other, then cross multiply, you will have this. Okay. So right now we have this. We can also simplify 1. That will be 3. And basically that will be 6x minus x squared over the value of 9. So the main idea is that we have realized that sine square 4y is the same as 6x minus x squared over 9. Right. From this, what is the value of sine 4y? It will have to be square root of 6x minus x squared over 9. Now, because y is definitely in the positive, in the first quadrant and second quadrant, sine value will be positive. We don't need to take the negative side in this case, right? Now, simplify, that will be what? We can break this down. That will be, on top will be this one. At the base, it will be this one. That will be 6y minus this over the value of 3. So what's all this have to do with the question? So now if you observe from the first part of the question, we reached here, which means there has to be 1 over 12 times sine 4y was found to be root of 6x minus this over the value of 3, which means this will be 1, this will be 6, and you will have 1 over 6 root of 6x minus x squared. Okay, I hope that was, I think that was clear, right? How do we find those values? According to that, we have the answers as what? As the value of, so okay, that was a pretty dumb mistake. 12 divided by 3 is 6. It is not 6, it is 4. So always double check using your calculator. That will be 4 right here. Okay, as you can see, this is the final answer. By comparison, if you compare with what we are supposed to find, it is 1 over a. That will be bx minus x squared. By comparing, you can see a has to be 4 and b has to be 6. Okay, these are the integer values that we need to find for question number 7. So I think 5 marks is not enough for this question. It was kind of long. They should have given you at least 8 marks. Either ways. Now let's move on to question number 8. So here we have a scientist is studying a population of fish in a lake. The number of fish n in the population t years after the start of the study is modeled by this equation. So basically, this represents the number of fish after t years starting from time equal to 0. That's good to know. Part 1. Find the number of fish in the lake at the start. So at time t equal to 0, n will be what? N will be 600. Exponential 0 will be 1. Divided by 2 plus, that will be 1 as well. Makes sense, right? Because exponential 0, so anything power 0 is 1. That is, I hope that makes sense, right? So you will have 600 divided by 3, that should be 200. Always double check because we don't like making silly mistake. So here you go, that will be the answer for part A. Now for part B, we have to find the upper limit to the number of fish in the lake. Basically, what is the maximum value that we can take for this in this lake of number of fish? So we have to play with the equation. As you can see, t will be going to infinity, right? So what can we do here is we can play with those two. Let's say we try to divide by exponential. In this equation, you will have 600 over the exponential value, and plus that will become 1. Now, obviously, when t goes to infinity, this value will also go to infinity. 2 divided by infinity will be 0, which means 600 over 1 is 600. So the maximum, so basically as t goes to infinity, the value of n will approach the value of 600. So this will be the answer for the number of fish in this lake for the capacity. Now let's move on to part C of the question. Now here we have to find the time after the study when there are predicted to be 500 fish in the lake. So that will be the prediction of 500 fish in the lake. Now t is what? T is the number of years, and we have to give your answer in years and month to the nearest month. Okay, so let's see how can we do this. So we are given that the number of fish is to become 500. Now n is defined by the equation 600 exponential 0.3t over the value of 2 plus exponential 0.3 t as well. So first thing first, we can just cross multiply. You will have what? 1000 plus 500 exponential this is equal to 600 exponential this. Now let's rearrange this, send this over here. You will have 600 minus 5, that will be 100 exponential, that has to be 1000. So this will have to be the value of 10, right? Cancel, 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 cancel. So 0.3t has to be ln of 10, so t has to be ln of 10 divided by 0.3. That will have to be 7.67528 something. So basically that is 7, that is t is the number of years, right? So 7 years and 0.675 years. So basically, let's write this down. T has to be 7 years, and so answer was this minus 7 years times how many months? So we know in 1 year there's 12 months, times 12, you will have 8.103 month. So what is the closest month? That will be 8 months. Okay, so time will be 7 years and 8 months for the time taken, and obviously here we have to write the nearest month. Now let's move on to part D of the question. So here we have to show dn by dt is given to you by this. So let me actually do this here, why not? So n is what? N was given to you by 600 exponential 0.3 this over the value of 2 plus exponential this. Now let's try to find dn by dt. So as you can see, this one is a fraction. We have to use the quotient rule to find dn by dt. So one by one, first we write down the denominator as it is. That will be this. Then multiply by d by dx of this. So here we have the multiple times this, same thing, and then multiply by 0.3. Right. Now next step, we have to minus. We have to write down the numerator as it is, which is this, right? Then multiply by d by dx of this base value, that will be 0.3 exponential 0.3 t. Now at the end, you have to definitely find what? So that will be the whole thing divided by, let me write this here, divided by the base square. Base is 2 plus exponential 0.3 t square. Now obviously here we have to simplify, and try to find the answers. So let me continue here. So on top we have what? We have 0.3 times 600, so 0.3 times 600, that will be 180. So we have 180 exponential 0.3t multiplied by 2 plus exponential 0.3t. Now minus, next one will be same thing, so 180. Then we have exponential 0.3t multiplied by exponential 0.3t. That's the simplification of the numerator. Now everything will be divided by the same thing. But let's first try to simplify the top value, then we can look after the denominator. So what happens here? So 2 times this will be 360 exponential 0.3t plus 180 exponential 0.3t times exponential 0.3t. Now here we have minus 180 exponential 0.3t times exponential 0.3t. Now by observation, this and this are the same thing. Here we have minus, so they will obviously cancel out. So that will give you 360 exponential 0.3t on the numerator. Now replacing this back in the main equation, what do you have? You will have dn by dt will give you 360 exponential this value over the value of 2 plus exponential 0.3t square. Okay, this is what you're supposed to find. Now again, by comparison, a has to be 360. So this is your value of a. 360 is equal to the value of a. That will be, I think that is part D of the question. Right. Now let's move on to part E of the question. So here what do we have to find? So given that t equal to big T, and here we have dn by dt equal to 8, we have to find the value of t correct to 1 decimal place. So there's only one value of t, the value of t to 1 dp. So let's solve. Let's replace those values. Let me write this down. So we're given that when t equal to big T, dn by dt was given to you by the value of 8. So let's solve. Replace back in the equation. So let's see what do we have. We have, this will be 8 here. That will be 360 exponential 0.3 big T over the value of 2 plus exponential 0.3 big T, and then that will be square. Now what can we do? So we can divide by 8 on both sides to see what happens. That will become 1, and 360 divided by 8 will be 45, and then we can just cross multiply. So you have 2 plus exponential 0.3 t is equal to 45. That will be, so square, I forgot the square, apologize. 45 exponential 0.3 t. Now we can expand and simplify to see what happens. That will be 4 plus 4 exponential 0.3 t plus the value of 0.3 t square, right? That will be this. Now again, we have 45 exponential 0.3 t. Now let's send everything to one side. You will have what? So let's send this over here. You will have, this could be exponential 0.3 t times the value of 2, right? 2. Or we can keep this outside for now. Why not? Keep this outside so we can use this afterwards when we have to solve the quadratic equation. That's the main idea for now. So here we have this, and here we have what else? So that will be plus 4 here minus 45. That will be minus 41 exponential 0.3 t, and plus 4 has to be 0. Now as you can see, we have a quadratic equation. So let me explain. So what can we do here is we can let what? Let u equal to this value. Right. So you will have u square minus 41 u plus 4 equal to 0. Now you can see it's very simple to see that we have a quadratic equation that we can solve step by step and find the following answers. Now I just need to find some space to solve this question. So let me continue on this page. So the value of u will be what? U have to be minus b, 41, plus minus b square is 41 square minus 4 times a times c. That will be 1665 over the value of 2a will be 2. So from this, so 41 plus root of 1665 divided by 2, that should be 40.902205. And here we have something else. That will be 41 minus root of 1665 divided by 2. That will be 0.097794. For example, right? Now again, we are trying to find the value of t, not the value of u. As we have seen here, replace, you have exponential 0.3t is equal to 40.902205, which means 0.3t has to be ln of this value. Right. So t has to be what? So let me double check this one more time. So 41 plus root of 1665 divided by 2. Now ln of the value will be this divided by 0.3. That will be 12.3706. Now for this one, same thing again. So there we have exponential 0.3t has to be 0.09779. So which means t have to be ln of the value over here, right? And then divide by 0.3. So t has to be what? So ln of 0.09779 divided by 0.3. That will be minus 7.749. Again, t is time in years. Time cannot be negative here. So this will not be good. So the only value as seen in the question, we are only trying to find the value of t to one decimal place has to be 12.4. Okay, so this is your answer for question number 8. Let me write this down. So t here will be 12.4. Okay, that will be question number 8. Now let's move on to the last question. Okay, so here we have to express 12 sin x minus 5 cos x in terms of this, where r and alpha are constants to be found. Okay, pretty easy. So one by one, r is what? R has to be root of 12 squared plus 5 squared is 169. That will be 13. Now alpha has to be tan inverse of the value here. That will be 5 over 12. So here we have in terms of radians, so that will be, my mode here will be radians. Tan inverse, that will be 5 over 12. That will be what? That will be 0.392, correct, to 3 decimal place, 395. Right. So from this we conclude that you have to be 13 sine of x minus 0.395. That will be part 1 of the question. Okay, now moving on to part B. Part 2, I guess. The function g of g is defined by g theta is given by this for theta is more than 0. That's good to know. Now part 1, we have to find the minimum value of this. So I guess we have to use something from part 1. Why did they ask us this? To only move to this, so we have to use something here. For example, if you observe, here we have 12 sine the angle minus cos 5 cos the angle. So here we have 12 sine the angle minus 5 cos the angle. So this is basically the same thing as 10 plus this became 13 sine of the angle. The angle here should be what? Should be, this is basically x, which is 2 this minus the value of 0.395. If that makes sense. Right. That should be the other way to write g of x. Now to find the smallest value of g of x, we have to understand that sine of theta of any angle can only be between two values, value of minus 1 and 0, and 1, sorry, not 0, minus 1 and 1. Because if you were to draw the graph, for example, let me draw the graph here. The graph of sine is something like this. Starts from 0, will be going to 1, and should be here. This is the value of minus 1 and the value of 1. As you can see, the max value is 1 and the mean value is minus 1. So that's the sine graph to help you understand the max and the mean value of this. So this will be what? The minimum value will occur when this will be obviously equal to minus 1. So 10 plus 13, that should be minus 1. That will be minus 3. Let's check. 10 minus 13, that should be minus 3. Okay, fair enough. That will be the minimum value of the function g. Now for part 2, we have to find the smallest value of theta at which the minimum value occurs. So let me find some space here. Let me do this here. So when the value of minus 3 occurs, what is the value of theta? So the idea is that if you look at this, we know that occurs when the value of sine is equal to minus 1. And when does that value occurs? If you were to find this corresponding value, you will realize that that will be 0, that is 90, 180, and that should be 270, which is basically, let's see, that should be what, 2 pi over 3. Or 3 pi over 2. Yeah, 3 pi over 2 in terms of radians. So let's check. 3 times 180 divided by 2, that should be 270. So we know that we understand, according to the graph, that the minimum occurs when the angle here, the whole angle, this have to be the value of 3 pi over 2. I hope that makes sense, because if you observe the graph, the value of minus 1 occurs at 270 degrees, which is at this angle. So this will only become minus 1 when this angle will be this value. And the reason why we can use this is because of the smallest value of theta. But now the idea is that if you keep going on, there's obviously going to be many other values of angle that will work as well. However, because of this smallest value, we can just take the first one at which it occurs. So just solve this. Let me continue below. You have 2 minus this minus 0.395, that should be 3 this over 2, which means 2, this will be what? So let's solve. 3 pi over 2 plus 0.395 plus pi over 6. That will be 5.63098. So this will be divided by 2, 2.8155. Now, we don't have any limits for point of decimal places, so let's use 3SF as always. 2.82 will be correct to 3SF for that value to occur. Now for part C, the function h is defined by this. Okay. Now find the range of h. The range is the values up and down of h. All right, the range is the y values of h. So let me rewrite down the equation to see what we have again. So we're given that h in terms of beta is equal to 10 minus 12 sine beta minus 5 cos beta squared. Now again, wait a minute, we have seen this somewhere, right? We have seen this from question part 1. So we understand that this is the same thing as what? 13 sine of the angle minus 0.395. And that was square. So let's try to simplify. That will simply be 10 minus 13 square will be 169 sine square, and this will be this value. Now this one is only 2 marks, obviously should not be that hard. So the idea is that because we know this, let me write this down again. We know that sine of the angle, let's call the angle, let's call beta, why not, has to be between the value of minus 1 and 1. But the value of, if you were to find square, the idea is that we understand square has to be what? So let me square, that will have to be 1 and 1. But again, obviously it will not be that way because we also have the value of 0 in between. So they have to be 0 and this. That makes sense, right? Because we cannot have, if you square the value, we cannot have negative value. That makes sense, right? But also, we will have, you can see here, the value of 0 will be somewhere over here as well. That's the main idea. So the value of sine square the angle have to be between 0 and 1. I hope that makes sense. According to the graph, it will be between those two values. Now replace. When the value is 0, 10 minus 0. So for case number 1, when the this thing is 0, 10 minus 0 will be 10. Case number 2, when this thing is equal to 1, we have 10 minus 169. That should be what? Minus 159. So basically we conclude that this is the range of values that you can take. So h of beta has to be between the values of 159 and 10. This will be the range of this equation. Okay, so that was the last question of this paper. I hope that was somewhat helpful. As always, if you guys see anything mistake, leave a comment for others to know. And if you guys find this helpful, don't forget to like and share this video with your friends. And thank you for watching. I will see you soon.